I'd like to call to order the council workshop on the budget. There are members of the school board sitting in the front row, plus the superintendent, and they will join us at the table when it comes time to present that segment of what the work that they have done on the budget. All but one counselor is present, and there are some public here, and if there's time, and I think there probably will be, if there's any major questions, certainly I will try to give you an opportunity. Also, department heads are here so that if counselors have questions about specific departments, they'd be willing to answer them. Before I start, though, Chief Moulton asked to do a little bit of a presentation.
I don't think your mic's working. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello? I just probably need to speak more directly at it. Is that better? Okay.
I just wanted to take just a second. One of our officers, Don Laughlin, got a piece of Elsa and made a police baton out of it.
Isn't that beautiful?
And, he presented it to me here a couple of weeks ago, and we were getting ready for the awards banquet on Saturday night there, and I got a shadow box, and we took a picture, had a picture of the tree and with the police station and a cruiser behind it, and had an inscription here that Elsa lives on. This police baton was handcrafted and donated to the Scarborough Police Department by Officer Don Laughlin. The baton was made from a remnant of Elsa, the elm tree, which was nearly 200 years old and was the last of the giant elm trees that once lined Route 1. Despite several attempts to preserve her historic life, Elsa, who lived across the street from the public safety building, was dying and was felled on October 15th of 2011.
Oh, what a nice sentiment.
I talked with Don to see if he would have any problems if we displayed it here at Town Hall for a period of time before we put it in its permanent home at the police station. But I knew that many of you had interest in this, and I just thought you might like to see it. And I hope that the former Fire Chief Carson is home watching, because I know this was pretty special for him too. So, thank you.
Thank you. Very nice sentiment there, too.
Did everybody in the audience get to see that? Did he turn it enough for you?
That's great.
Great. Okay, with that, the town manager would like to do a little preliminary introduction, and then after that, I will walk through the recommended changes as decided by the Finance Committee, and then we'll open it up to the rest of the council for questions after that section.
Yes, just very briefly, I'd like to orient the council members to the documents provided. And as Councilor Roy just mentioned, the Finance Committee has concluded its work. There were 4 different review sessions. The last occurred last Friday morning, at which time the Finance Committee kind of collected its thoughts and made some final recommendations. And so, as was suggested just a moment ago, our thought was for this evening to begin with reviewing those changes and to certainly respond to any questions or comments from the rest of council. And then to, I guess, open it up for perhaps a larger discussion budget-wide. If there are questions members of council has beyond these recommendations, certainly that's free game as well. This is a bit of a different format. To my knowledge, in recent years anyway, the council's not held a similar format, a workshop. The intent of this, in my mind anyhow, is to really provide an informal opportunity to talk about the recommended changes, to respond to questions. I have members of staff here in the event there are questions that come up that I'm not able to field properly. Certainly they're here as a resource. And really, this prepares us for next Wednesday, which is May 2nd, scheduled for second and final reading. In the past, I don't think it's been quite fair for all members of council seeing these recommendations arguably for the first time at second reading. So again, that's why this workshop's been organized. So first item in your packet, just very quickly, is a quick overview of the details of the recommendations that I believe Councilor Roy will walk you through very quickly. The second handout is the same information presented in a bit of a different way. It presents the information based on the organization and format and detail of our budget process. And should these matters go forward, and I believe they will, at least from the Finance Committee, it will be this format that the motions will be devised for amendment purposes. And lastly, there's a tax rate computation page. This information does reflect and include all of the recommendations as though they will be passed, so I need to provide that caveat at the outset. And finally, there's 4 or 5 slides from the superintendent, so when the school portion comes up, I believe Dr. Entwistle would like to just present these slides to you that provides a bit of detail as to the school budget at this stage.
And I guess I would point out on the second packet, the second page of it, I had Ruth Porter add the percentage change based on the recommendations of the Finance Committee, the percentage change in each of the individual budgets, which I thought might help, because that would, you could compare that with the percentage presented in the original budget.
Right, that calculation is based on the recommended amount for Finance Committee as compared to the existing 2012 budget. So you can actually see a percent increase by department, division, segment.
So, these are our recommendations from the Finance Committee, and what we did was we had presentations from every department, municipal department, and some presentations from the school. I attended most of the workshop that they had on that Saturday. And out of all of the discussions, the National League of City dues last year was not in the budget. I believe it was $1,000 last year. Their dues have gone up, and we haven't taken an active part in National League of Cities in the last few years. And it was the feeling of the Finance Committee that we needed to at least reestablish our dues, because you get a lot of information from National League of Cities, and certainly with the internet today, there's a lot of webinars that are available to us at a lesser cost, and it's really important to network with other communities, because sometimes they have solutions that you're looking for, and sometimes you have solutions they're looking for. The Scarborough Land Trust, the manager did not put any money in the budget for the Scarborough Land Trust, and again, the taxpayers of the community have resoundingly voted for monies to preserve lands in Scarborough, and we felt it important to readjust that. Police training, the adjustment was an upward adjustment of $6,000. It relates to the police motorcycle as well, and when you go down to CIP to the second motorcycle, it was a recommendation of the Finance Committee, the majority of the Finance Committee, that we purchase a second motorcycle, and aligned with that is training of the officer, which doesn't occur in-state. They have to go out of state to do the training, and the second one, police motorcycle, is for all of those things that you have to add to a motorcycle to make it a police motorcycle. The council tablets, this is a new item. We've decided to go paperless. The initial proposal was $6,500. That was including 3G Wi-Fi capability, and we felt we could do without that as long as we, had the availability of tablets, and many of us have Wi-Fi at home as well. Accounting new equipment, we reduced that to down to $5,000. There was some proposal to purchase some new equipment, which we felt we could put on the back burner. The library, the books and printed materials, there is a reduction there, and that is related to one of the capital improvements projects, which is the e-file, e-books. And then in future, there may be even more reduction in actual printed materials as we move along with that. And then payments to other agencies, the manager recommended nothing there, and as we did last year, we recommended to flat fund that, and then we would look at the agencies and all of the agencies that have asked for funds are the exact same agencies that asked for funds last year, and if we flat fund it, we would do it at that rate, and that's certainly any of this is open to discussion. On the town revenue side, and that's where our budget is having the biggest problem, and not only our budget, but the budgets of every other community around us. The revenue sharing, we were able to adjust that upward by $13,500. The excise, the manager took out his crystal ball and said we could up that by $35,000, hoping that people will buy new cars. The excise boat as well. And then the tree growth reimbursement was an item that we did get reimbursement monies, but it was something that had been overlooked when the revenues were presented in the original budget packet. And then the CIP equipment projects, the Dunstan intersection CIP, we've already discussed that at a council level, but these are monies, contingency monies available for the right-of-way issues in the development of the Dunstan traffic realignment. And based on the numbers of properties that they have to negotiate right-of-ways with, we wanted to be sure that there was sufficient monies in that contingency. The fire, the narrowband radio, this was an addition by the fire department after, again, the original budget, but we've had a spot area in North Scarborough that hasn't been receiving the signals. It cuts out, and by adding this narrowband radio, then they have much better connection, and that's already working very, very well. The library had a CIP for generator connector. This is just getting the building ready to plug in a generator, and we felt that that could be delayed. And then I already explained the police motorcycle. On the second page, the schedule of fees, the ordinance committee forwarded to us a list of fees that perhaps could be adjusted, and out of those, we came up with 3 that we would adjust: the demolition permit up to 50, the hawkers and peddlers from 50 to 110, but that's not going to get us any more money because we haven't issued a hawkers or peddlers license in many, many years. And then the mass gathering permit, we referred this to the ordinance committee, and they met yesterday and agreed with the proposal by the fire chief, and it would be a numbers of person attending associated fee, so that there would be a fee for 1,000 to 2,000 people, a fee for, et cetera, which certainly makes sense. So that, I don't have the details on that.
It would be a sliding scale from 175 up to
right.
500.
So, and with the advent of some of the concerts at Scarborough Downs, that may help us there. It wouldn't be significant, and it's not going to drop the tax rate by a percentage or 2, but
No, in fact, on those points, we've not made any proposal to increase revenues in spite of those changes.
Yep. And then there were other discussion items that we looked at, EMS overtime, and we looked at, paying the overtime versus hiring the numbers of personnel, and it's cheaper to pay the overtime than it is to hire 4 more personnel at this point. We also talked about fire inspectors. Currently, we have 2 part-time. There is in the works an effort, perhaps in the next year's budget, to combine the commercial code enforcement officer with this inspector position, and it may bring it down to 1 position. The public transit shuttle bus, we have been negotiating or talking with the transit systems, both Saco, Biddeford, and South Portland, for 3 or 4 years now, and we felt that we needed to at least do something in good faith. Actually, the manager had put in $75,000 in the CIP budget on that, and we reduced that down to $25,000 for the next year. There's been people asking about getting public transport along Route 1, which we used to have many years ago, which would also include, if we were a full member and paid about $130,000, I think it was.
115.
115. There would be kiosks established along Route 1, et cetera. But at least this is showing that in good faith we recognize that we need to be part of it and helping them keep their business going. And then fuel, we discussed that, and the manager had advised a 25% increase in the fuel. He's not sure that that's sufficient, but we did not want to adjust that further. And we also discussed the addition of a purchasing agent. Right now, we did not fill that in last year's budget. We felt strongly that we really need a purchasing agent, and because there's a lot of potential savings for the town in purchasing, but we want, we don't feel we can put it in this year's budget, but we want the manager and the superintendent to work together and propose a joint position in the future, because I think, we could probably, again, save money both for schools and for the municipality. So those are the things that the Finance Committee adjusted and made recommendations to adjust. And with that, I would ask the school department to speak to the school budget. And then we'll take questions and talk about any of them, and opportunity for questions on any budget line that you want to talk about. Don't all get up at once. They're going to send you up by yourself, aren't they?
They'll join me.
All right.
I believe we'll be referring to the first item in your packet this evening. It looks like this.
Mr. Oriana has extras out there for people who are interested.
In the material Council Roy was just presenting, we're showing just the broad view. I believe we'll get into this more detail as to the changes made, recommended for the council.
Well, this was and I'm referring to this packet here.
Yep.
We're with you.
Good. Well, thank you for allowing us to update the council. All seems very typical and well-run to me, because it's my first run through, although some of these things have changed up, I guess. It seems to be a very good process, and it's moved very smoothly. Tom and I have worked nicely together as well, so that's been great. If you take a look at the next slide, I think, we would all recognize it's been a particularly challenging year. Driving a big part of that challenge is a loss of greater than $1.1 million in some federal jobs money that was really just here for a 2-year stint. And the good news is that we had that money for the town. The bad news is that it expired as it was supposed to for 2 years. So that money goes away. My team and I, in starting the budget process, we really articulated a true student needs-based budget. It was quickly recognized that the resource requirements of a student needs-based plan was going to be far too expensive. So that was abandoned even before we came to first reading. What we did do is we arrived at a mission-critical budget proposal, and even that proposal, through the work that we did, was then adjusted to spend critical investments and reinvestments over multiple years, not all for fiscal year 13. I think that what the school board adopted last evening, and they did so unanimously and enthusiastically, was a credible and responsive plan to finance the work of the public schools for next year. It was the goal that we set out to achieve, and I believe that we achieved that. If you take a look at the next slide, I would say that I would characterize our process as being thoughtful, very analytical. We adopted some new practices that have not been done in the school before. Reviews that I call ROI reviews. Business people know that's return on investment reviews. But we've done some very in-depth analysis of some of the areas of spending. It's also been a very inclusive process, and it has included folks well beyond the school community. The process has also been anchored by a strategic and very well-articulated 18-month improvement plan. Not a 3-year or 5-year plan that we sort of forget about and collects dust on the shelves, but a very dynamic improvement process that spans 18 months. That kicked off basically in November, right after the community dialogue in October. I tried to capture the amount of time and effort and really good thinking that was invested by many folks. My leadership council, many of the folks that you see behind me here, started immediately after the community dialogue and we engaged in developing that improvement plan, and it was mid-March that we actually delivered the first reading. So there was a considerable amount of time between improvement planning and then using that plan as a basis for our budgeting. Judy referenced the all-day Saturday budget workshop. Again, it's always been part of my practice to have a full day with the school board, really dissecting the budget, giving them every opportunity to dig into it, and giving the folks with me and behind me an opportunity to really explain all of the work that was done in their respective areas in terms of developing the budget. On the 19th, the school board arrived at its second reading. We spent time with the town council finance committee both on April 10th and then recently again on April 20th, at which time on April 20th we had a chance to update them. We recalibrated some things, and actually the budget was further reduced from that session with the town council finance committee. The school board had its second reading, as I said, with an enthusiastic and unanimous endorsement of the budget. And here we are sitting tonight, and I understand this is in preparation for your May 2nd second reading of the budget. While my team will be there, I will not be there on May 2nd. It's one time you won't see my face, which is unusual, but my youngest son is actually graduating from college in Bozeman, Montana.
Wow.
And it's a little bit more than an overnight trip. So,
Yeah.
so I will not be there May 2nd, but I'll be there in spirit. And of course, school budgets here in Maine are subject to a public validation vote, which is another level of scrutiny and another level of approval, and that's been scheduled for the 15th. Just taking a look at these adjustments and refinements that you see on the next slide, it's really been a combination of rethinking, analysis, and reallocating of resources, and quite frankly, some pretty fortunate outcomes on some other key drivers that has allowed us to arrive where we have. And where we've arrived is with a significant positively adjusted school budget from the first reading that you saw, and I refer to the sticker shock that people referenced, to the second reading. If you look at it quickly, it's pretty much the bottom line. In terms of expenditure, a first reading of almost 10% reduced to under 5%. If you were to look at an average expenditure increase year over year from fiscal year 2009, you would see an increase average of just over 1.75%. If you look at that, even in the second reading, the increase in tax requests over last year, the loss in the federal jobs money accounts for just about 4% of that increase. So briefly then, we have had some very favorable market adjustments in terms of our healthcare costs. Being a human resource organization, an organization that provides from humans to humans services, our biggest expense is personnel. And that healthcare landed in a favorable place, as did dental, and the good work that was done in terms of restructuring debt service with the town manager and others from the finance committee, and I also know Bob Mitchell played a key role. That was a favorable adjustment as well. We also made some very calculated and deliberate reductions and deliberate delays in major purchases, and we've also made some adjustments in terms of capital spending. And the finance committee saw, when we met with them on the 20th, that we had to abandon this idea of trying to put building technology replacement into the operating budget. It's probably where it belongs. It's never been there. It was an attempt to kind of straighten things out, and we needed to abandon that. We have had reductions in full-time equivalents, which are positions, basically for projected enrollment fluctuations. Now I hope those fluctuations stay as they were projected to be, because we're very close to the bone. And we've made further reductions in wage projections, both in terms of our non-contractual employees and as we think about replacement personnel, as we have retirees coming through the system, and they're becoming more plentiful as the years go on. We have recalculated wage projections there as well, which leaves us, again, tight. We have had reduced or level funding, or we've made reallocations in the area of supplies, including classroom supplies, including contracted services, and as well personnel across the district. This leadership team, in going through the exercise of really doing some close analysis of how we were using our resources, we were able to make an adjustment of approximately $200,000 by just reallocating the existing resources that we had. So that was good. And we've orchestrated some calculated delays in program implementation. Rather than starting at this time, if we delay, we can actually reduce costs, and we've taken those reductions by doing some calculated delays. So I would say, so what's different? The last slide really is, what is different about this school budget? One, it's got somebody different presenting it to you. But more than that, I think more than ever before, this is a budget that's absolutely based on data and clear priorities. Those clear priorities came out of the community dialogue, and I think that unquestionably the data that I see demonstrates some real critical needs here. And we are working with a very clear focus on those top priorities. I think also I can say that there are no frills in this budget. It is focused on improvement in instruction and curriculum. That is our core business. If you're going to make an investment as a business, I'm also a business person, as you know, coming from a business person and an educator's perspective. When you are going to make investments, you have to make it in your core business. And the reason why we exist is high-quality instruction for all students and high cutting-edge curriculum to prepare our students for the future. So what does this budget do? As well, I think it's a little bit different. It does begin to reestablish a very precarious, very delicate balance between student needs, the risks of not addressing those needs, and the affordability and the appetite to be able to spend the money that's needed. So I do understand, and this team understands, it strikes a very delicate balance. I think we've done that. The community dialogue participants would see the absolute connection between what their concerns were, what their hopes were for this school system, and what's in this budget. So it is responsive to the expectation for excellence. It does stop further deterioration of educational quality. Again, as a business person and an educator, I would say that I know that what this community cannot afford is any further deterioration of the educational quality. So this budget does begin, and it's terrific to be able to begin to reinvest specifically to protect the assets that have been built through earlier expenditures by the townspeople here. And it begins a very slow but certain movement to being the high-performing school district that this community says that they expect. So I would say the bottom line here is that this budget does deliver to the town a plan to credibly and responsibly finance the mission-critical work, not the student needs, not the pie in the sky, but the absolute mission-critical work that's necessary to continually improve teaching and learning in these schools here. And on behalf of the school community, what I'm respectfully asking the council to do is to move this budget to referendum on May 15th. Thank you.
Questions, comments? Councilor Gander.
I'm always impressed with the quality of work that comes from the school department, and I can't applaud you guys enough, and I mean you guys in the widest sense of the word. I'm blown away that every year you come to us with a budget, a starting budget, and then you're able to cut out so much and still maintain I hope we're still maintaining a good level of education. I think that's important for the town, and that's certainly what I keep hearing over and over and over again from our citizens. And so, great work. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you walked us through that timeline. It was very deliberate, very strategic, and I'm glad to hear about the inclusiveness of it as well. So thank everybody for all of your hard work.
And I concur, Councilor DeAndrea. I think, having attended the workshop on Saturday, and then I did go to some of the focus, but I was ill that night, so I had to leave. But I think that whole process, I saw people working together and really exploring pros, cons of everything. It really made people stop and think. And Finance Committee really said nothing to the school, like, you've got to go back there and reduce this budget. It was a process that they entered in, and they presented it, and have been working hard on it, and I truly appreciate it, because I think it's very thoughtfully done, I think, this year, so pleased with it. Councilor Sullivan?
I had a question.
Sure.
That came from the public. It was asked me, and I said, I'll have the superintendent explain it now. Is people want, some people that didn't hear about it and didn't know about it, don't understand that community dialogue, who participated in it, and, how that went. I'll let you explain.
Sure.
So they know.
I'm happy to explain. The community dialogue happened in October 12th, I think. It was an invitation to students.
11.
We had a representation of students from fifth grade up. Parents, of course, staff, but just as importantly, citizens who don't have kids in school, senior citizens, some of the leaders of the town, elected some of the town's leaders, and basically brought together that group it's called open space technology. This may be more than you want to know, but it's a meeting without an agenda. And the agenda is created by anyone who wishes to pursue a topic. So that session, which was about 3.5 hours long, we actually had 60 different dialogues that happened on important topics. For example, teacher evaluation, on the importance of foreign language, bullying, and so on. So there were 60, better than, I think, 63 or so topics that were pursued. That was the data that we took as a leadership council, and basically sort of reduced that and dissected it and analyzed it, and it allowed us to both articulate the four long-term goals for the district, and as well gave us the improvement targets for the 18-month improvement plan. That work was then taken to each of the departments and to each of the schools, into those teams, and they were asked to align the work that they were doing with those improvement targets. So it was a way of, I don't ever use the word usually strategic planning, except to criticize strategic planning in the true sense of it. But people think of it in the same way. This is really more improvement planning, and it takes the form of an 18-month improvement plan that has served as the basis for this budget. It will repeat itself again in 18 months, which will be, I think, April of 2014?
13.
Next spring.
Okay.
So people who have not had a chance to participate will certainly be invited to do it. It's an open invitation to the community.
I think we had, how many would you have, about 200 people there?
It was over 400.
Was it over 400? Yeah.
I would have loved to have gone, but I was working, and it's hard for me to get away.
Kate reminds me as well. It then went online so that people could access the link online. I put it in the newspaper. They could go online, so that anybody who missed the dialogue could go in and actually check in on things and have input. And again, the second go-around, I think it will become more familiar to people, and But it is the way that we do school improvement.
And then the other question that I had, I don't really have any question personally, I just bring some questions forward that I've been asked, and I figured this would be a good time to ask them, and they can watch this on TV. The other question I was asked was, what percent, I don't know whether you can answer this now, what percent of the budget is salary increases?
There are contractual obligations that are...
Right, if you take the piece of the pie, what piece of that pie is actually contractual raises and increases?
Well, I can answer sort of the wrong question, but the salaries and benefits make up about 73% of our budget overall.
Right.
So the increase is proportional in terms of.
Well, I
the-
guess,
how
let me
the increase-
rephrase that,
Yeah.
okay? The portion of money that we're increasing the budget, what was it, 4.96, just under 5, what portion of that is actually salary increases?
Portion
Driven by
is in the
salary
town.
benefits. I don't have
Just
that number.
roughly.
900, the contractual obligations is 910,000.
Is that from the?
This was the second
April 10th?
iteration, so it may have gone down slightly.
Yeah, it will have gone down a little bit.
No, I mean, this is just things that the residents want.
Yeah, it's a
like
good
to
question.
know.
It's one we can get an answer for you.
It would be a significant chunk, not the majority, but it would be certainly a significant chunk, just based on the fact that our expenditures overall are driven to the tune of, 73-75%,
Right.
which is all personnel costs.
So, well, I guess one of the points that it helps address is, actually how much, when you're saying it's lean to the bone, if, a big, large portion of that is contractual salary increases, it's pretty evident, that's, there's not a lot of waste in the budget to help people feel better about the overall, I think, 6 point something overall.
Yeah.
Right.
6.3, I believe, overall, because there's people out there that are really upset about the taxes going up this much.
I think your point is a good one, Richard. It's, there's very little discretionary spending within a school budget. When you add the fuel and the energy and all of the fixed costs
Right.
and the wages and benefits, and there has been, the school committee, the school committee that has been in place for the last several years has made a deliberate attempt through their contractual negotiations to begin to bring up the level of the teachers in this town to be more competitive. They're certainly not anywhere near the top
Right.
quartile there, but they have been deliberately moved to be in a more competitive position so that we're able to better attract higher quality individuals who want to work here.
I think, too, I would respond to just to think about schools today versus schools when I was in school, and it takes a lot more personnel to do the same kinds of things, again, because of the demands the state places, with special ed and all of those things. I mean, I think Ma Larry would have loved to have had a teacher's aide in her day, but she didn't. But today, it's a whole different atmosphere, and certainly, the numbers of employees, and I asked for that information, the numbers of employees in the school department is almost 500, and that includes all of the support, the clerks and the teachers' aides and the bus drivers and et cetera. It takes a lot more people to do this, to do the things today, because a lot more is demanded by the essential programs from the state. So,
I understand
I think one of the best indicators in terms of spending compared to, and it is apples to apples, spending compared to any other community or town is the per pupil expenditure. And you can look and see, is that below average, is it at average, is it above average? And Scarborough continues to be below average. And just to give you a sense, if I think it was 10-11, if in 10-11, it had hit even just at the average, at the state average, so we were below state average, but if it had been at the state average, it would have generated more than $2 million additional money for the school. So we continue to spend very economically.
And we do a fine job. I mean, I think, for the price per, the cost per pupil, and I just don't even like that number, because it isn't the money that does it, it's the people. And I think that you said that, people is the most important, so. Councilor Rankin?
Yeah, I just wanted to, George, if I could put into my layman's terms, I think what I heard you say was losing the jobs money was 4% of that, roughly 4% of the increase you're asking for is
In terms of
that loss, that net loss.
We needed, yes.
Right. So that shows that a very small percent is left that was not given and taken away. I think the other message I got from you, please, if I'm mistaken, is that with your coming here and reviewing everything with yourself, your staff, and the citizens, we have reached a critical time in our school system where we need to take action, and continuous action. This is not going to be the only time you're going to be coming forward. This is going to be something we're going to need to address for a while to get ourselves back to where we perhaps were 10 years ago.
I think that, yes, I mean, I think that's true, but I do think that this is a very different year.
Yes.
Because of the significant loss of federal money. There's essentially a cliff built in that we don't plan on experiencing
In the
again.
future, we hope.
So, but does it mean that we need to continually invest? Yeah. I think, again, this is a bit of a I think Tom has characterized it as a correction year, and I would agree with that. But we spending on average, expenditures increasing by 1.75% is probably too little to maintain the assets that have been built and to maintain a level of momentum to really prepare students for the world that they're heading out into. I met with what's that fellow's name now? Marty Tripp today.
Oh, yes.
And I told him he could come here, and because we had a nice conversation, he told me that he would support the school budget. And I said, you need to come to the town council and tell them. But we had a nice conversation, and the conversation was really around how schools are very different. If you're thinking about our business as being what you remember of being in school, it's not that at all. And I'd happily take a tour with any of you and sort of introduce you to the schools that we have. You should be proud of them. We have excellent employees. But the range of services is something that I think that you would find to be very different from your personal experience. And there is continued pressure to ensure that we are preparing kids in a way that's going to allow them to be successful. This is the greenhouse for the workforce. And we've got to look at it that way, and we've got to invest in that workforce.
So thank you.
Not to put too fine a point on Councilor Sullivan's question, but based on prior analysis and conversations with the superintendent and business manager, I dare say over half of the increase of $1.7 million are directly attributable to fixed cost contractual obligations. So more than half of that increase is untouchable.
That's correct.
And again, I'd be happy to get the final number once we run our numbers through again and pass that on to you through the town manager, so you can answer to the citizens.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good answer, what we heard. Roughly half is a pretty good answer, I think. They'll be satisfied.
Can I ask a question just
Sure,
based on
Councilor
that?
Halpert.
You had said about
roughly half of the money has to do with contractual obligations. But I also heard you mention that some of these monies being paid also has to do with rising the level of what we pay some of our teachers too. So how much of this is a step increase and how much of this is wage living cost
This is-
increase?
We're going into the third year of a contract with teachers.
And when does that complete?
We will be entering into negotiations after next year.
After
So,
next year.
so what you're seeing is the third of a three-year contractual adjustment that was part of a strategic move on the part of the school board to make them more competitive. How much of it is built in? Again, I would just be guessing at numbers. I think it was just, they had agreed year to year over the 3 years of the contract to give a bit more of an increase to put them into a competitive position. So I wouldn't be able to give you a specific percentage as to what that adjustment is to make them competitive. But it's already built in. It's a fixed cost for us.
I guess the point is it's contractual, nonetheless, it's not discretionary.
Yeah. Just as our union contracts for the police department, fire department, EMS. I was similar. Curious to
Yeah.
when the, like I said, I obviously understand what, cost of living is 3%, and I can wrap my head around those things. I was just trying to find out, when are we done with you were trying to bring the pay scales up, so.
The contract will need to be renegotiated as we go into next school year for a renewal of that contract as next year ends.
I think the point she was trying to make is that there was two components to that, right? The cost of living raise, and then there was another one, which was trying to make everybody
Parity.
equal within the
Yeah, so
parity
it's
thing, or whatever you
called
call it. But there was
kind of an
kind of
equity
two
adjustment.
different things in that contract, which made those wages seem higher and look higher.
Correct. It was a planned adjustment.
Yeah.
anyway.
And we
I
see,
think the point you can take away from that is that that's not going to have to happen in the next salary negotiation, because we will be on a better level from our starting point. So you'll have a more standard steps and COLA adjustment like you would see with a regular contract negotiation.
Yeah, it's similar to what what's
the
going
library.
with the library. The library's got two adjustments, cost of living, and then they have another one to bring them up with other. So it kind of looks like there's a double kind of an increase there, but one is truly to bring people up equal to where they should be in their profession.
Any other questions of the school budget? Municipal, I think, any questions, certainly, we need to have questions asked about anything on the municipal budget that you don't understand or that you want more clarification on. One of the things that I did have added to the second packet, if you look on the far right, the percentage change, when you look at the municipal departments, I say kudos to the municipal departments as well. The actual increase percentage change in the municipal operating budget is 0.86%. And the revenue,
Say that again, Judy.
it's in your second packet. I had the numbers. There are some large numbers there.
Oh, 0.86.
Bottom line is 0.86%. And then when you look at the revenues, we're in that same issue. We have the same issue on the municipal component of the budget. Our revenues are down 2.24% because of our, our block grants and other grants that, our stimulus grants that we had that didn't come through again this year.
I just wanted to say, being on the Finance Committee, and again, I appreciate...
It's in the packet she gave you tonight,
Yeah.
Council DeAndrea.
Yeah.
So I asked her to add that this morning.
Keep right
Counselor
on going there,
Elquist.
Judy.
She was looking for the numbers.
She can't hear them.
That's what happens when you get older.
Yeah.
You'll
well,
find out.
No, we're finding out. She just throws them out there and I hit them out of the park. No, I certainly appreciate, I want to say to the school board, it's and working with Tom, I appreciate the superintendent and everybody that's involved on your side. think this year, whether this goes forward or not, or whether the vote, whatever happens, I think it's been a pretty enjoyable, experience for both sides, and I appreciate that. I've been on a lot of budgets where things have been not good. I know, we had a target, I had a target, and I know you came above that a bit, and I understand the reasons you did. But I appreciate the work and the professionalism that you showed with Tom and working through this. I think it makes it easier on everybody, and I appreciate it. We want a good, solid education for everybody, that's for sure. I think we all appreciate that, and we all support that. But I will say on the municipal side, I appreciate, again, the municipal side and the departments coming in where, we asked you to come in close to zero, and I guess you did, 3.6 or whatever, and everybody met that, and I know you did that with pain, and I know that it's probably going to catch up with us in a budget or two, but this year was a year that we needed a little extra help from the municipal side, and you were able to do that, and we appreciate that. We certainly didn't put any big add-ons. We did a motorcycle, and instead of leasing them, we're going to buy them now, which makes a lot of sense and saves fuel, that's for sure. But all the way, whether it was Public Works, they always run a very efficient operation. We appreciate that. Certainly the fire department, they get issues that's going to come up here in the future that we're going to have to deal with. They certainly have a new piece of apparatus that we need in this town. But we appreciate the work, I do anyway, the work that you put into this budget, and when you came to our meetings, you were all well prepared, and we understand, I understand the pain, I think, that some of you are going through to get to where you did, so thank you again.
Yeah, and for some of the numbers for the public, I think it was $147,000 in healthcare contracts that you say was...
The initial
Yeah,
reduction.
the initial reduction, and then there was an additional amount for that, was there?
In the healthcare?
Yeah,
There was dental.
dental, the
Yeah,
addition
yeah,
of the dental.
The dental only amounted to about
Yeah.
5,500.
And the debt service, the renegotiation of the bonds was $783,000 of an adjustment that we could make, which was huge, huge, huge.
Really enormously.
Yeah. One of the other things I just wanted to clarify, at the public hearing, one of the members of the public talked about the police department increase in employees from 62 to 77 over the past 3 years, and I did research that. And the police department has increased from 50 to 53, and four positions were grants, were grant positions. And then the town hall employees, it was stated that there was an increase there, and actually, the town hall employees have dropped from 2010 from 45.25 down to 40.78. So there has been actually a reduction in the numbers of employees, not an increase, and I just wanted to make sure that got corrected, and somebody got that answer.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. There was a lot of questions about that, and I think anytime you go to a public hearing, people sometimes exaggerate things or whatever, but thanks for straightening that out.
Councilor?
I just wanted to say that I think that this looks like a very reasonable budget. It's always painful when there are tax increases that perhaps we would like not to see, but one thing I really was happy to see, even though the Finance Committee was not able to fund it at the manager's recommendation, is the participation in the transportation, the bus system. I think that is something that, actually at the Senior WOW meeting on, I think it was Tuesday now, the days are running in together this week, that was very widely spoken of by the people there, that for many seniors, and as our senior population is growing, transportation is an issue, and it's going to continue to be an issue, and we need to really start working on that, to have something in place as that boomer population rolls into place and overtakes the whole town.
You gave us those numbers, too, that almost 25% of the population of Scarborough
Right now,
are
and it's-
60 and over.
Right, and it's going to increase.
And these are the people that are having a hard time with the increase in the budget because of fixed incomes.
But I think if they can see services that really are they're not exclusively for them, but they certainly aim at a problem that is going to increase.
Yeah.
I really am happy to see, even though it's in some ways only a token, it's a beginning, and we've put it off for a number of years because of the serious budget problems we've had the past 3 or 4 years. And I think it's ripened, the time has come. So that's one area that I really kudos.
Just on that point, it just occurred to me, I want to recall for the council's benefit, the senior property tax relief program, our local circuit breaker program, when we're talking about tax rate impact, particularly on fixed income, typically elderly folks. We do have a locally administered program. We've proposed funding at the current level, which has been adequate. We have been able to fill all the need that's been expressed. So we think it's a great program, and we believe the current funding is adequate.
Councilor Dander.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we sort of haven't mentioned, and I do want to mention, is that thanks to going out to bid for turf management, there were 3 bids that came in, and so we plan to save the town somewhere between $68,000 and $55,000 just in turf management costs because of the organic program. So I'm really delighted to see that. I think there was a lot of talk that we were going to see increased costs because of the organics, but in fact, we've seen exactly the reverse of that, and we've seen a dramatic decrease in the turf management, which was, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere right around $90,000 for a current turf management, which was the synthetics, and the 3 bids that came in were at $35,000, $30,000, and $22,000. So quite impressive.
Forgive me, I hate to disagree with the counselor, but I just want to correct the record. I think it's premature to throw those numbers out. The numbers on their face appear to provide some savings, and I don't doubt that they'll be at least cost competitive, if not provide some savings, but not to the order of magnitude as just mentioned. The bid process included a strict number component, more conventional bid, but also an RFP component, and per square foot and yard pricing, which I don't believe was considered in the numbers that were just reported. So forgive me for disagreeing, but I don't think it was stated as correct.
But at least some savings, perhaps, so that's always good when you can save money. Other questions or thoughts about the budget? I mean, because we like to prepare, for next week's meeting, and if there are items or things that you want to propose, anybody that hasn't been, at the Finance Committee meetings, any items that you would think about proposing for reductions or increases, just so that the kind of, process goes smoothly?
I just wanted to say, Tom, I know that people maybe aren't scintillated by the Finance Committee meetings to watch them, but I know there's a lot of vetting that goes on many items, and I know one item that we talked about last year that you had shared with me would probably not be a successful plan this year, was the concept of going regional with our dispatch, and that given some realities, that was not really doable in this budget. I just want the public to know that all of those issues were looked at. So even though they may not be reflected in this budget this year, the Finance Committee and the town manager definitely have looked at all of those issues. And we may not be talking about them tonight, and you may have something that you think we're not looking at, but I really think much of what we've has been suggested in the past, over the years, has really been looked at very thoroughly.
And that issue really came out of the legislature. The legislature was looking at that, knocking down the numbers of dispatch areas to 17 statewide, and they aren't ready to put it out there at this point in time, and told communities such as Scarborough plan for the next 5 years to keep going with your dispatch. So, yeah, we did look long and hard at that. I think the other issue, too, was the SEDCO issue, and I think, we had a significant reduction in the SEDCO by reducing it by not paying rent, moving SEDCO back into the town office, and Harvey Rosenfeld, who's the president of SEDCO, is going to part-time. So there was a 25% saving on that budget, and I think that's pretty significant as well. We did not, as I said, recommend, we really wanted to have a purchasing agent, but didn't put that in the budget. But I think if we can work together with the school, as I said, we can do that combined person. And, but it doesn't come without other caveats, i.e. if you buy in bulk, then you got to have some place to put it. So, it might be get more dollars need, so, but.
So just a procedural point to recall for everyone. All the Finance Committee recommendations, those reviewed this evening, we'll prepare those in motion format, and I suppose it's a luxury, but I would humbly request that if there are other issues that councilors want to bring forward, I'm pleased to work with you to prepare a motion so it is prepared and presented in a form that you wish, and it doesn't bog down the process. So by all means, if you can provide that basic courtesy of a heads up, at least your idea will be presented coherently and in a form that is acceptable. The council sits in regular session, and so it's the formal process that will be followed.
Perhaps if you could, Tom, to summarize the tax rate computation for the citizens out there as to, based on these recommendations, if these recommendations fly, what the tax rate would be and what that might mean to the average taxpayer.
Okay. What I'll be talking about is the net budget. Net obviously assumes not only what we need to spend, but what other non-property tax revenues we may enjoy on the school and the town side that will go against those costs. What's left is the net budget. That money need to be raised through local taxation, and obviously that's what affects the mill rate. On the municipal side, total net budget is increased by 2.18%. On the school side, total net budget is increased by 10.2%, and the county net budget is 5.04%. So altogether, the net budget increase is 7.33%. Assuming an increase of value of $15 million in the total assessed value of town, it would require a 6.88% increase in tax rate, or 90 cents per thousand. And for those that want to understand what that means to them, for the average priced valued home at $300,000, that would mean a $270 increase per year, or $5.19 per week.
Oh, and the other thing we wanted to mention, the bonding.
We did successfully negotiate a sale of bonds today. This bond had three components. One was $20 million for the first year commitment toward the Wentworth School, which I see they're getting underway as we speak, moving some of the landscaping in front. Another portion was about $3.4 million in new CIP borrowing. And the final piece was advanced refunding for three bond issues, 2003, 4, and 5 series. Much of that, those bonds were either high school renovation bonds or Higas Parkway debt. Long story short, there's no tremendous savings and good news to deliver to you. The good news is that we've met the expectations. All of those savings have already been built into the budget. In hindsight, perhaps we should have held this and delivered great news all at once, but we picked it up along the way. So we've met all of our projections, and we're very pleased with the sale.
But you said it was around roughly 7,000, so if you add that to 783,000, that's 790,000, and that sounds better to me,
Yeah,
savings.
There's approximately $7,000 difference in annual
Yeah.
debt service obligation, over an $8 million obligation. That doesn't seem to be enough to present that as a viable option for you this evening.
So any
I
other,
also heard on the news tonight that Bernanke's going to hold the interest rates till at least 2014, so anything we're doing, that'll help us too.
okay, it's only 8:05. Are there any citizens out there that wanted to get up to the mic and ask any questions? No brave souls. Certainly, 6.88% isn't what I want to see. I'm in that category of 60-plus, and on a fixed income. But I think based on it's a revenue-driven budget, I think, which the manager has repeatedly said throughout the process, and the superintendent. It's kind of that wishing you hadn't relied on those stimulus monies and those other things, and then you wouldn't be, perhaps where we are now. But I think it certainly meets the expectation when we look at, it comes out actually to not the net, but not the net budget, but it comes out to 3-point-something%, does it not?
Forgive me, I'm not sure what you're
I
referring to.
can't remember, but the number, we had, Yeah. The overall operating budget, does it come up to 3-point-something, 3.8, is it 3.86 now?
I'm sorry.
I'm
not
looking for
sure
the
what
CPI number that Carol had presented in the goals workshop. One of the
Right.
things she said that, that she'd like to see as part of the goal is that we not exceed the CPI.
I believe that caveat was 3.6%
Yeah.
relative to the
Right.
tax rate increase, so I think you can compare the 6.88% to the 3.6, which was your goal.
Yep. So we've reached that at least. So, any other questions or comments? I would encourage any counselors, if you have any questions, feel free to call me or to check with the town manager or the other members of the finance committee, certainly, if you have questions on any lines in the municipal budget. Like Tom said, we'll try to get some, motions prepared so the process goes smoothly, and we get a budget that is reasonably okay.
Just a final point on your March 2nd meeting agenda, along with the budget adoption, will be the approval of the ballot.
May 2nd.
May
May
2nd,
2nd.
excuse me. May 2nd. The town clerk and myself are working on language for that ballot. We will be recommending that there'll be a second question that asks whether the budget was too high, too low, or adequate. And that adequate is a third piece,
the
third
key.
question that was never included in the past. So we'll put that in front of you. That will certainly be up to you whether you wish to have that question asked at all, and if so, in what fashion.
Because that was something that was missing last year, and we didn't know whether people voted yes or no because it was too high, too low, or, or what. But that language is mandated by the state. I mean, it's governed by the state as to what you can say. So the town clerk has researched it, and I guess that's probably going to be all right, okay wording. So that will give us a better range of understanding whether people voted no because they thought it was too high, or, or what. So,
Okay.
and I think it'll get us a better answer, because too high, too low, what do? You don't know which way to go with it. So. Any other comments, questions?
Sounds good.
Thank
Not
you.
for me. Thank you.
Motion, do we need a motion to adjourn?
No,
No.
no.
Yeah, you don't need a
Workshop,
question.
you're in charge.
Thank you very much.